Take your hands from your ribs and bring them right to your thighs. So to the top of the legs, we'll push down into the feet, slightly curl the tailbone up, and really use the glutes to lift into a low bridge. We're gonna stay low enough that our shoulder blades are still touching the ground. Now let's spark the brain a little bit by waking up the feet. So keep pressing into the balls of your feet, but try to lift the toes up. And then lower the toes. See if you can lift the heels any amount by pushing down into the big toes. Lower the heels. Lift just the toes, not the balls of the feet. So we're just trying to lift and spread the toes, and then lower the toes, lift the heels, and lower the heels. So you're going to keep going a few more times. Keep the glutes really active. The pelvis is staying still. So none of this movement is happening in the lower back. But we're waking up the feet, the ankles, the calves, the hamstrings. And anytime we work the feet, we're strengthening that connection to the brain, pushing the toes and then the heels into the ground. And lower the feet. Let's lower down slowly, one vertebra at a time. All the way until we get down. We'll bring the hands behind the head, cupping the skull so that the elbows are drawing in. Take a big breath and really visualize the breath expand sideways into the ribs. Exhale, draw those pelvic points in, let the ribs come back in and lift off the shoulder blades. So worry less about the head lifting and just try to get off the shoulder blades. Inhale to lower down. Exhale, lift up. Take your hand, either one, to the front of the rib cage and just kind of pinch the fingers together. So we're just kind of pinching those ribs in, kind of shortening the space between the front ribs. Hand comes back behind the head. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lift up. Feel your belly button draw down toward the sacrum. Either hand comes to those front ribs and just kind of close that space there. Pinch those ribs in a little bit. Hand comes back behind the head. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lift up. Lean your head back. Now, without actually pinching the ribs, can you get that feeling of the ribs knitting in? Keep everything the same as we pick the left foot up off the ground, knee over the hip. We'll flex the foot, point the toes, step that left foot down. Inhale to lower. Exhale, lift up as you feel those ribs knit in. Lean your head back. Pick up the right foot, knee comes over the hip. Flex the foot, point the toes, step it down. Inhale and lower. Exhale, lift up. Lean your head back, draw those pelvic points in. Pick up the right foot, knee over the hip. Flex the foot, point the toes. Stay here, we're gonna add on. Turning away from the leg, turn the ribs 1 inch to the right. Try to lift off that right shoulder blade. Come back to center, step the left foot down, inhale and lower. Exhale, lift up, knit those ribs in, pull the belly down, pick up the right foot, knee over the hip, flex that right foot, point the toes and stay. Turn away from that right leg. So we're going to rotate 1 inch left, lift that left elbow up, come back to center, lower the foot, inhale and lower. Let's release that. We'll come into a seated position for just a moment. And we'll check in with how we're sitting, ears over the shoulders, over the ribs, over the pelvis. Now let's bring our hands into fists. We're going to do thumbs on the inside of the fist. Take a couple circles both ways. And just notice if it feels different, have the thumbs inside. And then do a fist with the thumbs on the outside. Circle a couple ways. So a little bit different than we're used to. Let's head to quadruped. We'll come to hands and knees, really focused on that neutral spine. So picture a broom behind your back, touching the back of the skull, the shoulder blades, and the sacrum. From your quadruped, let's slide the left toes back. keeping them on the ground. Now make sure that by sliding the left toes back, we haven't arched the back. So that tailbone's reaching toward the left heel. Use that left glute to float the toes off the ground. Back of the neck stays long. Now we abduct a lot. We'll take that left leg out to the left, keep the toes facing the ground. And now we'll do the opposite. Let's take that leg, cross it behind us at a diagonal to the right. So that's adduction of the hip, ADD. Abduction, AB, out to the side, so out to the left. And then adduction, it crosses over. So we're going to do that a couple more times, holding straight and strong in the arms. Low back isn't moving. Keep the toes facing the ground. And then slide that left knee in. Realign that neutral spine, soften the chest down. Right toes slide back without changing the spine. Use that right glute to float the toes off the ground. Now start out to the right. Keep the toes facing the ground so we're not turning the leg or the hip out. Bring it back and now cross it over to the left. Like we're crossing at a diagonal. Slide the toes over to the right. And then back to the left. As you keep going, hold everything else still. You could also do this with the toes on the ground, and you just slide the toes right and left. But it's a pretty small range of motion. We're not moving the upper body at all. So we're just moving that right hip away from the body and then across the body. Good. Slide that right knee back into quadruped. We're going to come into a staggered position here. You could also come to fist if you need to give your wrists a break. You could also turn your fingers out to the side. That's also a nice way to add some novelty. But we're going to stagger our left arm forward in quadruped. So our right shoulder is still over the wrist. Our left hand is further forward. And let's cat-cow here. So anytime we're in a staggered or asymmetrical stance, that's also something different than we usually do. So we're sparking the brain by moving in a different way. We've got to focus a little bit more. So a lot of the stuff we'll be doing today is just going to keep us from going on autopilot while we're here. So you really got to focus and then unstagger that left hand, stagger the right arm forward. Cat-cow here in this staggered position. Moving as much as you can. Bring it back. Let's take a quick child's pose to get off the wrist. Now, if you're in child's pose and you want to try tucking the toes under, that's also a nice way to pay attention to the feet. You could even tuck the toes under and stay higher up on the forearms, like the puppy position instead of a child's pose. And wherever you are, I want you to visualize the rib cage. So as you inhale, can you visualize the rib cage expanding side to side? So getting bigger side to side. And then really visualize sending your breath into your back ribs as if you could breathe in between the shoulder blades. But let's bring it forward again for downward dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, weight stays in the hands. We're gonna walk the feet in quite a bit and really bend the knees. As you're in down dog, push into your fingers. So press into that index finger, the middle finger. Feel the arms active, lift the ribs. And if you wanna pedal the feet out, you can. If you wanna swivel it here, letting the knees bend to one side and the other, do whatever feels good. Let's walk the hands back for happy squat. Big bend in your knees, push down into the feet, and we'll rise up at the back of the mat. Okay, so sparking the brain by focusing on balance and shortening our stance. We'll try to tandem walk forward, so it's a heel-toe walk. Now, we did this a couple weeks ago, so if you feel pretty confident with the heel-toe walk, you could try to close your eyes. Probably not going to go super well, but it's really good for the brain. So let yourself feel uncoordinated today. Try it out if you're feeling up to it. And if you're not closing the eyes, there's still a ton of benefit. Feel the feet on the ground. So feel the weight shift heel to toe. And the next time we come to the mat, we'll pause here. And just take a moment, feel the big toes press down. See if you can feel the pinky toes and the heels. We've got our nice triple Fs. Let's reach the arms forward and up. Shoulder blades reach up toward the ears. Bend your knees. Hinge at the hips like you're trying to get your belly to touch your thighs. Hands could always come to blocks here. Right foot steps back. Lower the knee and the top of the foot. We're in our 90-90 low lunge. Left foot is forward. Zipper that pubic bone up. Firm that right glute. Now let's take our hands to that left thigh. See if we can do what we did in bridge. Lift the toes and spread them. So we're not lifting the ball of the foot. We're just lifting the toes. Lower the toes. Can you lift the heel? And then lower the heel. Lift and try to spread the toes. And then lift the heel. So again, we're visualizing this. Lifting your toes and spreading them is hard. It might feel impossible. They really can do it, but not if we're always in shoes. So visualize that spread of the toes. Good. Keep the spine long as we come to quadruped. Tuck the toes. We'll hover here in quadruped. Hover the knees, so we're pushing into the toes, keeping that nice long spine. Continue to lift the hips up. So we're really piking the pelvis up for down dog. Knees stay soft, arms are active. Push into the second and third finger. Lower the knees to quadruped. Right foot steps forward. Now we're in our 90-90 low lunge on the other side. Lift up, check in, zipper that pubic bone up. Hands to the right thigh. Visualize it first, spreading the toes. We're going to lift and spread the toes. Lower the toes, lift the heel. And lower. So as we're doing this, go as slowly as you need. Make sure that left glute's nice and firm. Keep the spine long. This time we bring the hands forward and the left foot steps forward to meet the right into our bent knee forward fold. Push down into the feet, reach the arms forward and up. Good, hinge at your hips. Bend the knees. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, but not the toes this time. We're still in 90-90, but now we've got those toes tucked. Tighten that left glute. Now, if you can, picture or visualize your right heel dragging back and your left knee sliding forward. So our right foot and left knee are kind of dragging back toward each other energetically to really get that left side active. Push into those left toes. Hands come down, quadruped. You can untuck the toes. We'll come to our hover. Align the spine. Tuck the toes under. Hover the knees without rounding the back. Continue to lift the hips up, up, up for downward dog. Lifting the rib cage up. Lower the knees back into quadruped. Left foot steps forward. Right knee stays down, but we'll tuck the toes under. Lift up, low lunge, tighten this right glute. Now visualize your left foot sliding back, like we're dragging that left foot back, and then picture that right knee trying to push forward, or that right hip pushing forward. So we've got this energetic draw in toward each other. Lengthening the spine. Hands come forward. Right foot steps forward to meet the left. Bent knee forward fold. Reach the arms forward and up. We'll start our first sequence. Bend the knees. Hinge at the hips. Spine is long. Right foot steps back. Lower the knee, not the toes. We're still in that 90-90. Pause here. Lower the hands. We're going to shrug the shoulders up and down instead of rolling. So they're just going to go up, down a couple times. And then you can roll it back a little bit. One at a time. If you've got a block, that might be nice here. You do not have to have one. We're going to lower the right hand down under the shoulder or to a block, modified twisted crescent. Turn through the ribs to the left. Let the neck release. Maybe left arm floats. So we've been in this position, modified twisted crescent, sending that left hip back. Now stay where you are with the legs, Right hand is gonna lower down. You can either do it on the outer side of the foot or the inner side of the foot. Turn the ribs without turning the low back. So we're doing an open twist. Now the right arm might reach up, let the neck release. So this might feel a little uncoordinated. We're twisting away from that front leg instead of toward it. Both hands come down or to a block. Let's lift off our right knee and turn to the right, so we're facing the side of the mat. We're gonna do some side lunge pulses. So we're gonna go 2 times to the right, pulse into that side lunge, and then we push the ground away, pulse twice into that left side lunge. So you're really pushing the feet into the ground, and as you straighten the leg to switch sides, you're pushing the ground away. So a lot of activity in the legs. We can also take our fingers to our quads or to those thighs and kind of push the fingers into the quads. That's actually going to help us fire the glutes a little bit better. We'll turn to the back of the mat for quadruped. So now we're facing the back of the mat on hands and knees. Align that neutral spine. Slide your right toes back, but we'll keep them on the ground for now. Zipper that pubic bone up. Slide the right toes to the right, hip abduction, but we're going to keep it on the ground. Slide the toes to the left. Crossing it over, hip adduction. Slide the toes to the right. Keep it on the ground. Slide the toes to the left. Try to feel that big toe stay on the ground. Slide to the right. Hold the arm strong. Slide it across the body. Good. Come to center. Ground that right foot down. We're headed to modified side plank. Stay on this left hand and left knee. Right arm reaches up. You could keep that right foot on the ground. You could float the right arm off. If you're looking for an extra challenge here, you're going to circle that right ankle in both directions while we're here in modified side plank. So can you get that kind of slower message from the foot all the way up to the brain of circling the ankle while you stabilize everywhere else? So only do that if you feel really solid and stable in this modified side plank. Good, back to quadruped. Right arm threads underneath like we're headed for a thread the needle, little thoracic rotation. Push into that left hand to come back up. Left leg extends back, 3-legged quadruped. And then slide it back in. Right arm threads under any amount. Push into that left hand to come back up. Extend the left leg back, hip extension. Slide it back in. Let's try that a couple more times. How smoothly can you move from that twisted thread the needle into that left hip extension, using the core to move with control. Okay, we're going to work the brain because we're going to start the second side facing the back of the mat. So I'm going to try not to make any mistakes. We're going to step our right foot forward, low lunge. Pausing in your low lunge. So our left knee is down. Let's tuck those left toes under. Lift up, ears over the shoulders, over the ribs, over the pelvis. Arms dangle. We just lift and lower the shoulders. So just a little shrug or shake up and down a couple times. Hold that left glute strong. And then we'll roll the shoulders back a couple times. Heading into that modified twisted crescent, left hand to the ground or to a block. Turn through the ribs, but try not to turn in the lower back. So we're getting that thoracic rotation toward the right leg. Right arm can come up. Maybe we let the left ear release to the shoulder. Breathe into that right hip and to the right side of the ribs. Here comes that other version. Right hand down, either on the outside or inside of the leg, maybe on the block. Turn the ribs left, so we're turning away from that front leg. Maybe the arm extends up, maybe we release the neck. Breathe into the ribs here. Can you visualize that 360 breath? Hands come down or to blocks. We're going to lift off that left knee, rise up, turn to the left. So we're facing the side of the mat again. Let's do those side lunge pulses. So we'll pulse 2 times, each side lunge, and as we rise up, we're pushing the ground away. So active in the legs, active in the glutes, working this hip hinge. Picturing we've got that broom taped behind our back. Good, now let's turn to the front for quadruped, coming to hands and knees. Align the spine, slide the left toes back. We're gonna keep them on the ground. Lift the belly up, slide the left toes to the left, hip abduction. Slide the left toes across or behind the body to the right, hip abduction. So you're gonna keep sliding, keeping it on the ground, feeling that connection of the toes on the ground. Holding the arms straight and strong. We're gonna stay on our right hand and right knee as we open for modified side plank. Make any adjustments you need. You could even put the right hand on the block. Firm the bottom hip. Maybe left foot is off the ground. Maybe you want to try those ankle circles. Good, really working the brain, doing something different while we're stabilizing. Bring it down to quadruped. This time we'll tuck the toes, lift the hips, down dog. And as we come to down dog, press into your fingers. So we're pressing into not just the heel of the hand, but where the fingers meet the palm of the hand. So the knuckles, really pushing into the fingers, strong and active in the arms. Let's walk it forward, bent knee, forward fold. Push into the feet, reach the arms up. We're gonna do one round of sun salutation A. If you would like to try to close your eyes for any of it, this might be a nice time since it's pretty repetitive. We've done it a bunch of times. Reach the arms up, push down into those big toes. So feel the feet, especially if the eyes are closed. Bend your knees, hips move back, torso comes forward without rounding. Hands come down, plank pose. Good, if the eyes are closed, it's kind of tricky to know where your alignment is. So let's visualize that broom behind our back. Lower the knees, relift the throat so the ears haven't dropped below the shoulders. Lower down with control. Inhale, lift the chest, drag the hands back, draw the pelvic points in. Exhale, tuck the toes, use your core to lift up. Weight stays in the hands as we walk the feet in, down dog. Let's pedal the feet out here. Push into the fingers. So we want to make sure we're not just having all that weight go to the heel of the hand. Push into the knuckles. Walk it forward. Ooh, wait, before we walk forward, step forward with the foot you don't usually step forward with. So if you always step forward with your right foot, try to step forward with your left foot. Pushing into the feet, reach the arms forward and up. Lower the hands. You can open your eyes if they were closed. We'll start our second sequence. So from our mountain pose, let's pick up the right foot, flexing the right hip. Push into that left big toe. Step the right foot down. Left foot comes behind, curtsy squat. Push the ground away. Back to mountain pose. Pick up the right foot. Push into the left big toe. Step it down. Cross it behind, curtsy squat. Keep alternating. So the right foot lifts in front, hip flexion. The left foot comes behind, curtsy squat. Pushing into the feet. Feel the big toes on the ground. Feel the balls of the feet on the ground. The next time we end in that curtsy squat, let's pause there. Left toes behind. Check that the low back is long. We're not overarching it. Hands can come to prayer. Let's just do a small rotation right toward that front leg. Unwind. Can we also do a small rotation to the left? Try that one more time. Small rotation right. Small rotation left. Good. One more time, rotation right. Because now as we unwind to the left, we're going to lift and turn to the side of the mat. heels in, toes out. We're in our goddess squat. Picture that triple S here. So maybe bring your hand to your lower back and make sure we're not really arching away from our hand. So that tailbone is nice and long. From our squat here, let's goalpost the arms. Make fist. So now we got to use the brain. You're going to tip one fist down. So that's shoulder internal rotation. And then lift it back up. And now do the other fist. So we just start to tip it forward any amount, shoulder internal rotation. Now can we switch at the same time? So alternating one arm up, one arm down in goalpost. But we're just moving within our range. So it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's more just about what it feels like for the shoulder. Good. Brain's got to focus. Our arms are doing different things. We're stabilizing through the legs. Let's take it to the back of the mat. Right hand plants, modified side plank. Right hand, right knee down. Left foot steps back. Secure this right arm. It's really stable. Now again, you could have the left foot on the ground. You could have the left foot off the ground. This time, can we try to point and flex that left foot if it's up? If you want to challenge the brain even more, you're going to bring that left arm up and see if you can flap the left wrist into flexion and extension. So now our ankle and our wrist is pointing and flexing, but we've also got to use some of that brain power to stabilize through the right hip and right shoulder. Good, lower to quadruped. Tuck the toes, lift up, down dog. Walk the hands back, happy squat. Push the ground away, rise up. We're gonna do that tandem walk like we did in the reset. You can have arms out for better balance. You can make it harder with the eyes closed. You could turn your head side to side. So we're trying to heel toe walk as much as possible, really feeling the feet work. So let those feet wiggle around. Notice the shifts in the big toe and the heel. And as you make it back to the front, we'll just turn around and do that on the second side. So now our left foot is the one that comes up into flexion. Step it down, right toes come behind, curtsy squat. Left hip flexes, push into that right big toe. Right toes cross behind, curtsy squat. You could go even slower. Working the outer hips and glutes. Shifting our weight from right foot to left foot. Next time we come to that curtsy squat, we're gonna pause for that rotation. So our right toes come behind, curtsy squat, zipper that pubic bone up, hands to the heart. Rotate left, so toward the front leg. Now let's also rotate away from the front leg. Challenging our balance, rotate left, rotate right, rotate left, and this time we'll unwind to the right toward the side of the mat. For our goddess squat, heels in, toes out, make sure knees and toes are facing the same direction. Low back is long. Goalpost the arms with fist. One side internally rotates, and then the other. You could do it that slow, so just one side at a time, or switch at the same time, but let's keep the rib cage out of it. So we're not popping the ribs forward as we move. It's just coming from the shoulder. So it might be a really small movement, especially coming forward into that internal rotation. Let's turn to the back of the mat. Our left hand plants down, modified side plank. Right foot steps back. Secure that left side, left hip, left shoulder. Toes can stay on the ground, toes can come up. You can point and flex the right foot. You could also flex and extend that right wrist. So just a little wrist flap. And it'll be really hard if your ankles and your hands are doing the opposite. So just let yourself have fun, feel uncoordinated. It's all right. Plant the hand down, down dog. So starting quadruped and then lift up, down dog. Lift the hips. Walk the hands back, happy squat. Push down into the feet, rise up. Now we've got a couple options. Keep that tandem walk forward and back. We're gonna do it for a little bit longer this time. Or skip. Let yourself try to skip forward and skip back. Another option, alternate one arm up and one foot up. So flexion with an arm reach. I want you to pick something that's different than you normally do. Something that's gonna spark the brain. So whatever it looks like, we're gonna be doing this for a bit. You could try a lot of things. You don't have to pick just one and stick with it. Maybe a couple of times we're tandem walking. Maybe we're trying to lift the heels in our tandem walk. So just choose something that's a little bit different than you normally do. Good, spark the brain, a couple more times. You could also be on hands and knees crawling. Crawling is really good for your brain. Good, last time at the front, whenever you get there. Let's push into those big toes. Lift the heels. Hands can come to the pelvis, hands can come to that triple S. Can we try to close the eyes and slowly lower the heels down? Now let's try that again. Eyes open, push into the big toes, lift the heels. Can we close the eyes and slowly lower the heels? Let's try that a couple more times. Open the eyes, push into the big toes, lift the heels. Close the eyes, slowly lower one more time. You could try it with eyes closed the whole time. Push into the big toes, and then lower down. Release it. Let's come to our quadruped. And we'll start on hands and knees for cat-cow. We've got quite a couple options here. You can have knees in and the feet wide. So that would be hip internal rotation, knees in, feet out. You could try to cross one arm in front for a cross arm cat-cow. You could try both. Basically, try to cat-cow in some type of way that's different. It could even just be fingers turned out to the side. So let's see if we can get some of those new connections to the brain by just moving in a different way. Then let's come to a seated position. And we'll close our eyes. We're going to bring our hands to the rib cage. So in whatever fashion that feels good, you could do same arm and rib, you could cross over, but wherever you are, let's close the eyes, making connection to the ribs. Inhale and visualize your hands expanding out to the side. So really breathing into the hands. As you exhale, use your hands to help the ribs just gently come back in. Inhale, feel that side to side expansion. Visualize your ribs expanding into the hands. Exhale, feel the ribs gently come back in. And as you keep the eyes closed, thank yourself for your practice today. Sending one grateful thought out to the universe.